Hello everybody and welcome back to, just getting the mic sorted there, welcome back to episode 18, is it 18? I think it is, of the 2 Footed Tackle podcast. I'm your host every week and for the foreseeable future, Ari Stamatakos, and I hope the week, as always, treated you well. But before we start, got to do the formalities, got to do the self-promotion, the shameless the self-plugging, self-promotion. So if this is your first time listening, if this is your first time listening to a full episode, because I know we did have a Newcastle clip hit a wider audience, which I was very surprised but also overwhelmed to some extent to see. So that was good to see, nonetheless. It was good to see that got out there. So if anyone is listening from that clip, welcome. Be sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell as well so you don't miss out on any clips or episodes. Like the podcast as well, and then obviously on all audio platforms, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Anchor, and Google Podcast. The whole 9 yards in that respect. It would be good, yeah. Just drop it a follow on all of them, drop it a like as well. A 5-star rating would go a long way. And then obviously the socials, TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter at 2 Footed Tackle Podcast on TikTok and Instagram, and at 2FTPod on Twitter. Now, I think we're done with that. I think we're done with all the self-promotion. Some personal news. Is there any personal news? Did something happen to me? Carlton won again, so we're now 5-2. So, mate, I'm telling you, flaggers, mate. We'll win the flag. What else? Nothing. All right, pretty boring week on my behalf. So thankfully the soccer was able to give me something to talk about. But I hope the week treated you well. I hope it treated you nice. I hope everything went swimmingly. I hope everything went well as always. Now, let's start. Bit of a rundown. Obviously, we got a lot of things. Obviously, we're getting to the business end of the season, so a lot of things have happened. A lot of things have happened and have been finalised for the first time this year. So obviously we got the first team relegated from the Premier League. We have La Liga champions. We had one of the best European Cup semi-finals in a long time. We have another title race which is going down to the wire. We have a club born from the ashes, which we'll talk about. And I want to do an in-depth analysis on Tottenham. So be sure to check out or stay tuned for that, because I just feel like it's very interesting to explore where they're going to go, especially next season, because Conte can throw up a lot of curveballs. So we'll talk about Tottenham for quite a bit. We'll touch on who's going to get relegated from the Prem, because that's going to be an interesting development over the next couple of weeks, and then obviously who went into footed, and the preview of the week, in which we'll end on. Now, let's just start at the top, and let's start with the first relegation team from the Premier League. It is Norwich, and I mean, are we all that surprised? I didn't want them to go down. To give you a peek behind the curtain, in my Premier League predictions, I actually had them 15th, so that's not good. But I think it was a 2-1 win from Burnley against Watford, which sealed their fate. Obviously, them losing 2-0 at Villa Park didn't help, but Norwich are down, and the writing was on the wall, really. Probably since about January. There's just not been any spark from them at all from the start of the season. They've had some humiliating defeats. I know Chelsea beat them 7-0. They lost 5-0 away at Man City, 3-0 to Spurs, 5-0 to Arsenal, 4-0 to City. It just hasn't been a good season for them, and nothing has really fallen into place. They've had a couple of good, not results, but a couple of glimpses. They've had a couple of bright sparks, but there's just been nothing there for them. And it's another season where they come up, and it's gonna be another season where they go straight back down. And I think they're the definition of maybe not the yo-yo club because it's only been like the recent years, but if there was a league between the Premier League and the Championship, it would be Norwich, West Brom, Stoke. Actually, no, maybe not Stoke. Norwich, West Brom, Fulham, Bournemouth. These clubs which just float. Watford. These clubs that just float in and out, in and out. And I mean, we're going to be sitting here this time next year, and 100% they're going to come straight back up. But it's going to be interesting to see. It's also going to be interesting to see what's going to happen with some of their players because they've got some talent, man. They've got some talent. Obviously they've got Brandon Williams on loan. I really like the look of Lise Malou. I think in the right system with the right teammates and within the right circumstances, he can thrive. I feel like he has a lot of maybe not potential because he's 28, right? So he's not going to get a lot better, but I feel like he's certainly a Premier League level midfielder. Obviously Billy Gilmore going back to Chelsea. Matthias Norman, again, very similar with Lise Malou. I do think there's something in him. But apart from that, you have Max Aarons, who, of course, has all the potential in the world. And then you have the likes of Mila Rashica, Christian Zolis, these younger players which just haven't found what they needed to find to keep Norwich up. And then you have Josh Sargent as well, who has been lacklustre since he came. So it is tough for Norwich. I do feel bad for them because I do think they have a lot of talent. Like I said with Aarons and Zolis and Rashica and all these guys, right? And I was optimistic for them at the start of the season because I did like how Lise Malou and Norman would go in that midfield. I did think that they would suit each other, and I did think that if a game style could be found around them, it could do well for them. But they just never found that second gear, and I guess it's now a tale of what happens next. Does Dean Smith even? Obviously, Daniel Farke was sacked. Maybe that changed the course of the season. I know they did have that manager bounce with Dean Smith during like the early year, maybe mid-February or maybe mid-January. They did have that. If they had stuck with Daniel Farke, maybe something would have happened. Maybe they would have stayed up. I doubt it, but maybe if they sacked him sooner, maybe Dean Smith could have. I mean, maybe they wouldn't have got Dean Smith, and then etc. etc. But it's happened now. We can only ponder at what could have happened. But yeah, it's another year in the championship for them. Where do they go from here? I really have no idea because I think their squad is just too good for the championship. So I think by default they'll just come straight back up. You look at what Fulham have done this season. I think it's going to be very similar. Pukki is their Mitrovic, and they're just going to be that team. Too good, too much quality, too much experience, and yeah, I don't really see it being any other. I don't really see it going any other way unless they have another fire sale. Unless they get rid of Rashica, which I don't think that they'll do. But obviously, last time they went down, I do think they got rid of Jamal Lewis, and Ben Godfrey. They were two of the pillars of the rebuild of the future of Norwich. I don't know why that happened, by the way. Just on a side note, I do think that Gibson, Godfrey, and Lewis with Aarons could have been 3 or 4 back for years and years and years. But maybe they go down that path. Maybe they get rid of some of these younger players and then start fresh. Who knows? Maybe they try bring revenue in. Who really knows? And I'm about to say something really harsh, and I really apologise to any Norwich fans listening, but I really don't want to see you in the Premier League in 2 seasons' time. Give me someone fresh. Give me a Luton. Give me a Forest. Give me QPR haven't been in the league for a while. Like, give me someone fresh. That's why I didn't want Fulham or Bournemouth to come back up, because just speaking on the championship ladder, on the table, you have Fulham and Bournemouth, who have all but certainties for automatic promotion. And then you've got Forest, Huddersfield, Luton, Sheffield United, and Middlesbrough, and Millwall, sure, we'll put them in there as well. But I like Luton or Forest for me, because Sheffield United were here last year. Huddersfield were here a couple of seasons ago and were abysmal. Middlesbrough were here a couple of seasons ago and were miserable. Millwall, I wouldn't mind saying Millwall, and then like anyone else doesn't have a chance, right? So I don't want to see Norwich back. Go down, do a Sunderland, completely rebuild. Go down to League One, rebuild from scratch, and yeah, hopefully something can come from it. But I don't want you back in the league. It's gonna sound really harsh, but you're not a Premier League club. I know that sounds really mean. I like your players. I like your stadium. It's really cute. It's a cute stadium. It's not like you're not a Forest or a Mill. I mean, Mill was not even a Premier League team, but you're not a Leeds or a Forest or these established, like a Blackburn. You're not an established Premier League team. So, I mean, you probably are, and I've got my history all wrong. But back down the Championship you go. I'm sorry, but don't come back unless you want to be a top 10 team in 3 years of you coming up. Then yeah, come back. But if you're just gonna if you're just gonna sit at the bottom of the league, fighting for relegation every season, don't come back up. Save us all the misery, save us all the pain of watching you play. I'm sorry, but that's just fact. Although I do like Norwich. Again, I like some of their players. You've trapped Billy Gilmore really well, by the way. Love the way you've trapped Billy Gilmore. Not like he's the most talented player at your fucking club, but I'm not bitter. Let's move on and let's go to not only a different league, but to the different spectrum of the league table. And we now have our third major European league decided. It was Real Madrid. They are now crowned the champions of Spain. It's happened. And with the way that Barcelona started this season, it wasn't really a surprise. And the way Real Madrid have just been so consistent, from start to finish has been admirable. So credit to them, credit to Benzema, to Vinicius Jr., to Modric, Casemiro, everyone in that team, because they deserve it. And they've also got now, because they've got that league wrapped up, they can put their full focus and energy into the European Cup semi-final, which we'll touch on in about a couple of minutes. But yeah, full credit to Real Madrid. No one really stood a chance of them. I know Barcelona have somehow crept themselves into second. I know Sevilla were in second not long ago. They've had a dismal run of form recently, and Barcelona have picked up in relative terms. So yes, it is Real Madrid's trophy. It is Carlo Ancelotti's trophy and the photo of him with the cigar. I love it. I think he's a cool manager. I think he's a really, really cool manager. Just love the way he goes about it. Obviously took Chelsea to a double in 2010, which I'll be forever grateful for, because I was 6 and I watched every game of that season. But no, yeah, credit to Ancelotti, to Benzema, to Real Madrid. I've slagged you off, especially your fans, multiple times, but credit where credit's due. You have shut me up and you have won the league in emphatic fashion, and you could as well make the Champions League final, which would put me in my place royally. But good on yous, good on Ancelotti, good on the whole lot of yous, and hopefully Barcelona can give you a test next season. Do I think it'll happen? Absolutely not. I think they're still a couple of years away, especially if they do have a fire sale, which I think they might. And they have been looking at a couple of players who are shit. Obviously, I am referencing Harry Maguire and Marcos Alonso. There have been rumours that Barcelona are linked to both of those players. If they get them too, oh, Jesus Christ, far out, because they are pathetic footballers. I mean, that's harsh, because they're both Premier League footballers, but they're just not Barcelona level. So if Barcelona do make those signings, I think we'll be talking about Real Madrid having back-to-back trophies next season. But let's move from Real Madrid's domestic success to their European and continental adventures, and it was potentially the best European Cup semi-final of all time, especially like maybe a game, maybe over 2 legs, it could be a different story, but over one game in terms of 7 goals, high quality, some ridiculous finishes, unbelievable. I am of course referencing Man City 4, Real Madrid 3, and some of the goals from Real Madrid in particular, I think all 3 of their goals were gorgeous. I mean, you have the penalty, just the fact that Benzema missed 2 penalties last weekend and then had the testicles on him to do a Panenka when you're 4-2 down away at the Etihad. I mean, that man has balls like King Kong, I swear to God, because that I would not even have taken the penalty, let alone done a bloody Panenka. So good on him for that, and his first goal as well. They're not even chances. Like, he's not even getting clear-cut opportunities. Like, I'm going to compare it to Chelsea. Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Romelu Lukaku, Christian Pulisic, anyone who plays in our front 3 need about 5 or 6 clear-cut chances before they score. Or maybe 4 clear-cut chances before they score. You give Karim Benzema half a chance. Not even a clear-cut, half a chance, and he'll score. He's playing out of his skin. He's utterly ridiculous. And he's like, people are saying, oh, he didn't mean that first goal. He 100% meant that. He meant to do that. Like, it's not even a question in my mind that he meant to do that, because he's just so naturally, like, he's just got that natural eye for a goal. He's got that natural instinctive ability to get his foot in the right position to be that yard ahead of the opponent and get a shot away. It was gorgeous to watch that bit of play for his first goal. And then let's speak about Vinicius Junior quickly. That second goal was absolutely out of this world. I'll give credit to City in a bit, don't worry. But that second goal just shows how good he can be, because to do that under that pressure and to show that natural bit of just flair and class is brilliant. But by the way I've been speaking, you would think that Real Madrid won the game, but no, it was Manchester City who won 4-3, and I think the Champions League final is set, and I think it's set in a way which I enjoy. Yeah, if that makes sense. I do think it will be a City versus Liverpool Champions League final. Speaking on City, Pep will be annoyed. I am convinced that Pep will have come out of that game thinking, fuck, we should have done more. But to score 4 goals against Real Madrid in the semi-final, a massive tick for that. And I do think that they're going to go to the Bernabeu and maybe not be 3-0 up at the Bernabeu, but I do think they'll get the job done. Pep, unless he overthinks it, which is forever a threat with Pep Guardiola in charge. But no, I do think he has the depth in player, the unpredictability in lineup, and the class in the tactical aspect of the game to get the job done, because it's borderline a 2-man team. I know that midfield 3 is gorgeous, and everyone knows my opinions on Luka Modric, right? But if you shut down Vinicius and shut down Benzema, the avenue to goal is heavily, heavily restricted. Whereas for City, you have about 8 guys that can damage. You have De Bruyne, Silva, Gundogan, Sterling, Grealish, Foden, Mahrez, the list goes on, right? So there's more avenues for goal for City, and for Real Madrid there's less. There's more I don't know what the word is, but there's more predictability about the way that they play, in terms of it's Benzema or Vinicius, and then other than that, their goal threat is diminished. But I do think it'll be Manchester City who will get through. I mean, I'll give my prediction later on, but yeah, I do think City will get through. And after that semi-final, I really hope I mean, let's just do a callback to me. First leg of the PSG game, I said that Real Madrid don't deserve to go through. They beat PSG 3-1 in the second leg. So, I mean, City fans, I don't want to jinx you, but I might. So, I think you're going to win. So enough of that, because I'll give my, not in depth, but I'll give my preview for that later on. Now, let's move on from Spain and England to Italy, where AC Milan are now in pole position to win the league after a late victory. I'm pretty sure it was a relatively late win over Fiorentina. Yeah, Rafael Leao with an 82nd minute winner against Fiorentina, and then obviously Inter Milan beat Udinese 2-1. Now, it is now AC Milan to lose. They are 2 points clear with 3 games left. Their 3 games are Hellas Verona, Atalanta, and Sassuolo. I don't think that they're going to pose too much threat to them. I know obviously they're sitting around mid-table, so you never know. But Inter Milan's last 3 games, Empoli on Saturday, they've got a Coppa Italia final, I believe that is. Coppa Italia final against Juventus, and then they have Cagliari and Sampdoria. Napoli are now all but out of it. They're 7 points behind after losing 3-2 to Empoli, conceding 3 goals in the last 10 minutes. That is so stiff. And then losing 3-2 to Fiorentina a bit earlier on than that. I haven't spoken about the Italian league for a while, so let's do a big catch-up. And then in between those 2 losses, they drew in the 91st minute to Roma. So Napoli, very unlucky, very unfortunate circumstances in which they find themselves in, 7 points behind with 3 games to go. It would take a miracle, but I doubt it happened. Down to the 2 Milan teams. And just like I've been saying since I started this podcast, AC Milan are going to win the league. I really want them to win the league, and they're in the pole position too, so I think they will. I think AC Milan, Olivier Giroud is going to finally win his elusive Premier League trophy. Oh, not Premier League, but League trophy. Did he win one for Marseille or in France? I don't know. I don't know if he won one in France, but his first one in a long, long time. If he did, so good on him. Good on AC Milan. Everyone knows I do enjoy that club. I do like that club. So good on them. Now, I think that's enough of that talking. Now let's go to a club way back to England, but way down. Now Bury. Everyone knows the story, or most people should know the story about Bury. They were bought. No, they weren't. They were folded due to administration errors. They were disbanded, and they were kicked out of the Football League and shut down as a club and as an organisation due to some horrendous owners. But I think the news hit. The news hit. I think it was late last night, I want to say, or early this morning. They're back. Bury Football Club tweeted, "We are coming back. It is with great joy that we can say the fans have bought #BuryFC and Grig Lane out of administration, and we are working on the comeback story of a lifetime. It feels great to be with you again. #Fandone. #Bury." Now, this is... I've just seen something which I wish I wasn't going to touch on, but this is a bit weird because there's already a club born from the ashes, Bury AFC, who are the AFC Wimbledon equivalent of Wimbledon, and is there another club like? No, I don't think so, but they're the AFC Wimbledon equivalent of what was Wimbledon, now MK Dons. But so I don't know how that's going to be, because obviously Bury AFC are in the lower divisions. Is this going to be a situation where it's like FC United and Manchester, with Manchester United? Obviously, the club Bury itself are back, so they're not a club born from the ashes. They are just back. So who knows what that's going to be? Although I just am happy that Bury fans can have some form of normality in their footballing enjoyments. I assume most of them would have gone to support the Bury AFC. I assume that would be the case, unless I'm ill-informed. And if I am, let me know in the comments how ill-informed I am. But it's good to see them back in their original form. Hope they go well. I hope in 10 years' time we could see them battling it out in the football leagues potentially, or maybe it'll take 15 years, maybe it'll take 20. Who knows? But they're back. They're now 2 clubs in Bury fighting for bragging rights. I think that there'll be a little bit of animosity in there, I'm sure. In a respectful and jovial manner, I do believe or hope. Again, unless they hate each other for some reason. But that is that. Now, let's move on to let's finish with the big talking point of what the main crux of this podcast, and it is Tottenham. Now, Tottenham obviously aren't out of the top 4 race just yet. Do I think they'll get top 4? No, but they're still in it, right? They are they're 2 points behind, and they verse Arsenal. So if Tottenham beat Arsenal and everyone wins their other games, Tottenham make top 4. But that's not what I want to speak about. I want to speak about next season. Now, last podcast we spoke about the potential rumours of Antonio Conte leaving Spurs and going to PSG because Poch will be let go by all accounts. Now I wanted to explore the way that Spurs could be back. Now, this is all under the assumption that Antonio Conte stays, because Antonio Conte hasn't had a full pre-season and transfer window to really buy the players that he wants and buy the personnel he wants and really set his name into that club. It's been very tumultuous and it's been a very iffy up and go type of thing, right? Up and go, like give and go type thing. It's like this has happened and this has happened, then sort this out type of thing, right? So there's been a lot of upheaval going on for Spurs this season. So I wanted to explore the way Antonio Conte can make Spurs into a title challenging team next season. Now, I know that's far-fetched because you've got City, Liverpool who are going to be up there, Chelsea who probably would want to be up there as well. So they're going to have to be the 4th team battling for the league. Now, while it is far-fetched, I've gone with 3 signings that they need to get at least to challenge for the league next season and to be up there in contention. Now, again, this is all under the assumption that Antonio Conte stays. Now, I've identified 3 positions, and if they can identify these 3 positions, which I think are most important, then they will, assuming all the signings go off without a hitch, they will put the foot in the door for challenging for the league. Now, I've gone with a left-sided centre-half, because I don't think Ben Davies is good enough. I've gone with another central midfielder and an attacker. Now, the nature of their system is that their attackers are very fluid, whether it's Kane up front or Son or whoever. It's very fluid. But I've just gone with not a number 9, so not a Harry Kane backup or replacement, attacker. So where Kulusevski, Son, Bergwijn, Lucas Moura, etc., where they play, that type of position. Now, let's start, and it seemed that the average positions little visual did well last week. So let's do some more visuals as I move over to this side. And let's bring up some stats of some players as I potentially regain focus higher. Let's bring up some stats of some players this season who should be in contention for Spurs and who they should be looking at to sign. Now, let's go to the left side of centre half. And I've gone with... Oh, it's not coming up. There we go. I've gone with Lisandro Martinez. Now, Lisandro Martinez obviously plays at Ajax. Now, there's a couple of not issues, but a couple of things that people should know about Lisandro Martinez. He plays in a back 4, doesn't play in a back 3, which I know red flag, because it's very different nature. But he's left-sided, he's left-footed, And Ajax do play in a way which is very expansive, and it's very he's very versatile in the situations that he can get himself in. So if we look here, and there's a lot of red. Now, for me, let's ignore the red. Now, these stats are from his Champions League or European appearances in the past calendar year. And he has 3.13 tackles per 90, which ranks in the 99th percentile for Europe's top 5 leagues. If you were to put him in Europe's top 5 leagues for the minutes that he's played, for the 720 minutes, he has played 3.13 tackles, 99th percentile. Now, not only is this exceptional, right? Look at his progressive carries and progressive passes. Now, the reason why this is so important, especially for an Antonio Conte left-sided centre-half in a back three, is because they currently play Ben Davies there. And the reason why Ben Davies is playing there is because he's a left-back. So he can get up the pitch, he can make those channel runs, he has the physical ability to get up and down, to play as almost a wing-back, right? Or to play as a left-back. And Lisandro Martinez has the ability to do that. What he also offers is a bit of height, because he's an actual centre-half, and a better defensive ability than Ben Davies. I do think this is the number one priority for me if I was Spurs, to get that left-sided centre-half in, to lock down at least one part of that defence. And I think Lisandro Martinez could be one of the best options. You see that 87 passes completed, 93% pass completion rate, progressive carries off the charts, tackles very good, total shots as well. It's shot creating actions, 1.3 per 90, which is 1.4 per 90 pretty much, which shows that he is able to get into that final third, really create chances and provide that a little bit of an attacking spark, which Antonio Conte in a back three, maybe on the left side, could be an avenue to exploit. Now, that's Martinez. Let's get rid of him. Now, the other two positions that I identified was centre mid. So I think I already mentioned it. Centre midfield. You obviously currently have Højbjerg and Bentancur. Bentancur is performing out of his skin. I think he's been a fantastic signing. But other than that, it is not exceptional. Now, you obviously have Harry Winks as a backup centre mid, and that's pretty much it, unless you want to go down to the youth players. Now some of the characteristics some of the reasons why I've chosen these two specific centre mids is Conte's double pivot, assuming he maintains a double pivot and doesn't move to a 3-5-2, is they're two very similar players. Bentancur and Højbjerg have a lot in common because they're workhorses. They run all day, and they have the ability to be that defensive number 6 midfielder and got like that just lockdown midfielder, if you were to call it that. But they also have the ability to play a little bit more advanced and be a little bit more progressive when they need to. You look at Antonio Conte's previous run in England with Chelsea, the double pivot was always Nemanja Matic and someone else, whether that be N'Golo Conte or Cesc Fabregas. When it was Conte and Matic, you had Conte as a little bit more aggressive, a little bit more advanced, and you had Matic as that number 6, that holding midfielder. And then when it was Cesc, similar roles. And then when on the odd occasion when it was Kante and Fabregas, Kante would sit back. So he wants versatility. He wants versatility, but also similarities in his midfielders. He wants them to be alike in the way that they play. Now, for that reason, I've gone with two midfielders. One will be very familiar to Premier League fans, and the other one might not. But if you remember this name, then kudos to you. Now, I've gone with. Let's start with Christian Norgard. Now, these are Christian Norgard's stats from the past calendar year in Europe's top 5 leagues. Now, immediately, a lot of green. You have 99th percentile for tackles, 94th percentile for interceptions, in the 70th percentile for both pressures, blocks, if you round up, and then clearances and aerials won. He is very, very similar to Pierre Højbjerg. He will be Højbjerg, right? But what Norgard offers what Højbjerg and Winks or Bentancur doesn't offer is Norgard's tall as fuck. So Norgard can provide that physicality, that aerial ability that Thomas Souček and Declan Rice and Fabinho offer to their sides, which is proving invaluable. To their sides, because it's an asset that they can't replicate. Obviously, he's Brentford's captain, I do believe. So it will take a lot to get your hands on him. But if they do, he can be that versatile. He can be that number 6. And Højbjerg is a lot more advanced than people think. So if you have Højbjerg and Norgard in the centre of midfield, Norgard can sit and then Højbjerg can attack, because Højbjerg is a little bit more box to box than people do realise. But also, you have 76th percentile for touches in attacking penalty area, so that shows that's probably from corners and from set pieces as well. And then you have progressive passes, 4.81 per 90, ranking in the 74th percentile. So he's not just a destroyer. He can play a little bit as well, but if you put him next to Højbjerg, you have two players very similar but can offer different roles and are versatile enough to play different roles and to play them both very well. Now, obviously, they've got the Denmark connection plus. I think that's only a plus. Now, if you don't want to go for Norgard, if you think he's not good enough, if you think he's too cheap, whatever it may be, another player familiar to Newcastle fans, Mikel Moreno. Now, this is obviously similar, or same thing. Europe's top 5 leagues last calendar year, a lot more well-rounded. This would be partnering Højbjerg almost exclusively, unless you sign a backup defensive midfielder or you want to play Harry Winks there, which I don't think you do. This is what Bentancur is. This is what that secondary box-to-box, more attacking midfielder is. There's a lot more green in different areas. You have obviously 98th percentile for aerials 1, 88th percentile for clearances, and 73rd percentile for blocks. So, he's got that defensive game down pat. And then you have progressive passes received, 77th percentile, progressive passes, 85th percentile. So he's able to get into those attacking areas. And then you look at the goal contributions. You have 1.3 total shots per game, 0.24 non-penalty expected goals plus expected assists. So he's able to create goal scoring opportunities in abundance throughout the game, and he would work well playing perhaps on the left side of that double pivot and being that more box-to-box style midfielder. Because in Conte's system, you don't necessarily need a number 8. You don't need like a Naby Keita or a Bernardo Silva playing centre midfield, because they've got the 3 attackers up front and you've got the wing-backs as well. So that's why he could be maybe the Mateo Kovacic, able to carry the ball. Obviously, doesn't have that well. He's not that good progressive carries wise, but being that more advanced, whereas he doesn't have to carry the ball, he can pass it, and he can use his stamina to get into the right areas, as well as being very defensively adept. Now, they're the centre midfielders done. And obviously, the last area I spoke about was an attacker. Now, I do know Kulusevski has been fantastic this season. Son Heung-min, again, outstanding as always. This isn't about Harry Kane, so I won't mention him. But and then you have Mora and Bergwijn, who are splitting opinion, put it that way, for Spurs fans. And I thought if you want a complete transformation of those two positions, these are the two blokes you want. Now, I've gone with 2. Bear with me with one of them, I think, because he might be a little bit touch and go, and also these are also very expensive, I would think. A lot of these players, would be very expensive, but if you want to back Antonio Conte, you need to splash the cash, right? So, let's start with a man that's already been mentioned so far this podcast, and that's Rafael Leao. Now, obviously, the same deal in terms of the sample size for these statistics. A lot of green, especially in key areas such as dribbles completed, touches in attacking penalty area, and progressive carries. Tick, tick, tick. Look at what Kulusevski's good at. Look at what Son's good at. Carrying the ball, this is it. This is the man. This is very, very similar to those two players. And he's got very good goal contributions, 0.33 non-penalty goals per 90, ranking in the 77th percentile, 2.87 shots per game. There's a lot to like about Rafael Leao. He will cost a lot. I do think AC Milan rate him highly, so there might be a little bit of a sticky situation there. But I do think he could be the guy, because I know coming from Serie A, there's been a lot of players struggling coming from Serie A, particularly Romelu Lukaku. But if he's able to, because you can see he's got a lot of progressive carries, so he's not afraid to bring the ball in from deep and drive at a defence. Now, that is what the Premier League defences are used to, because Premier League teams do sit back a lot. So you look at what Jack Grealish was really good last season for Villa. Teams would sit back and he would get the ball from deep and then drive. That's what Rafael Leao is really good at doing. He's very direct, he's very quick, very technically gifted. He's got agility for days as well. Obviously, the 1.3 aerials one per 90 as well is another bonus. So that's one option to play as that wide player. And another option is Samuel Chukwueze. Now, this one is a little bit more unknown. He's a little bit more of an unknown property, but look at the dribbles completed. Look at the maybe not progressive carries, but look at the dribbles completed. Nearly 3.6 dribbles completed per game, 97 percentile, 6.5 touches in the attacking penalty area, 91st percentile, or 91 percentile. He's very good. And also something that he has, which that's Rafael Leao's stats. Something that he has, which Leao doesn't, is a creative ability. 0.26 expected assists compared to 0.17 per 90 in the last year. So he's a little bit more creative, can maybe feed Harry Kane a little bit more, and can make defenses sweat, because just if we quickly flash it back up, good in a lot of areas, can create. So, and obviously non-penalty expected goal 0.31 as well is not bad. So they're a couple of potential signings that Spurs could make next season if they want to challenge for the league. And I'm not saying that they will challenge for the league, and I'm not saying that even if they get these signings or address these positions of concern that they will challenge for the league. But if they do, they can challenge for the league, because I rate Antonio Conte so highly, and I just really think that they've got a lot of potential. So yeah, Tottenham can challenge for the league if they sign a centre-back, a centre-mid, and an attacker. And those 5 names are names that should be addressed. And it's almost as if, I don't know how to almost, if Tottenham address their areas of concern, which in my opinion is a centre-back, a centre-mid, and an attacker, if they address those areas, then they can challenge for the league next season. Whether it be Martinez at centre-back, Leao or Chukwueze in attack, or Moreno and Norgard in centre midfield. Whether it be those guys or other players, they have the ability and they have the know to challenge for the league, because they're the areas that they need to strengthen, and they're the areas that if they do strengthen, can carry them to challenging for the league. It's going to be interesting because there's going to be a lot of competition next season, especially with Chelsea. You'd think would be added into the mix, and maybe even United as well. But Tottenham, with Antonio Conte, anything's possible. So if Tottenham just make sure that they get their signings right and they keep Antonio Conte, they can challenge for the league, no doubt in my mind. Now, I think we're touching on 44 minutes, so I'll quickly wrap up. I'll wrap up pretty quickly. Now, I've got here one question: who gets relegated? My answer to that question: Everton. I'm sorry, Everton fans, but I know you beat Chelsea, and I am still a little bit bitter about that. But I don't think that Frank Lampard has got this side playing consistent football on a regular basis. I do think Burnley have that edge. I just don't feel that Everton can withstand the pressure of a relegation battle. I do think they'll crumble. And I love Frank Lampard more than anyone. So to see him go down will be heartbreaking. But I do think there'll be no Merseyside derby next season. I do think that they'll get the job done. I do think Burnley will get the job done. And Everton will be the third team relegated along with Norwich and Watford. Now, let's move on to who went into footed. Not really a serious one this week. It's Aaron Ramsdale. Now, for those who don't know, for those who don't know what who went into footed is, just go back and listen to literally every other episode before this. Basically, who did something daft, who did something dumb, who did something not, like who just did something idiotic throughout the week. Club, player, manager, staff member, whoever. I'll go with Aaron Ramsdale. Not for anything he did wrong, just for making the... I feel so bad for Rob Holding, right? So, obviously, Rob Holding scored the winner against West Ham. No, he scored the first goal against West Ham. And in the post-match interview, something about Rob Holding not scoring for 6 years or something like that. And Ramsdale was like, yeah, new hairline, new goal, or like new goal scoring, or like something along those lines. First goal with a new hairline. That is savage. Like, apply cold water to that burn, Rob Holding, because for those who don't know, just type up a Rob Holding hair transplant. It's funny viewing. So yeah, Aaron Ramsdale, that's not on, mate, because you can lose your hair in an instant. So I'm lucky. My hair is intact so far. I know I'm only 18, but you never know. So fingers crossed that I don't have the same fate as Rob Holding. But let's move on to the preview of the week because it's getting to nearly 50 minutes. So we've got United versus Brentford. Who are United? Sure, who cares? Champions League semi-finals. I think Liverpool win 1-0 away at Villarreal. I don't think Villarreal will offer a whole lot. Real Madrid City. I think City will win. I think it'll be 1-1. I think it'll be a 1-1 draw and City will get through. Europa League semi-finals. I think West Ham will win 2-0. I think they'll get through. And I think Rangers will get through and win 2-1. No, win 3-1 Rangers. So 3-1 Rangers, 2-0 West Ham. It will be a Rangers-West Ham Europa League final. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, thank you all for watching. Appreciate it. Let me know if you guys are enjoying if you're enjoying these statistics, these visuals popping up on the screen. Let me know. Give me some feedback in the comments below. It'd be very much appreciated. Be sure to share it as much as possible. Any social platform would be very good. Stay well, stay safe. Thank you all. Oh, that's premature. Thank you all very much for listening. See you all next week. Stay well, stay safe. Goodbye.